Everyone, it is 5:30 and the Cleveland City Schools Board of Education meeting will now come to order. Mr. Jackson will lead us in a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance.
Will everyone please pause for a moment of silence? Will everyone please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson. Ms. Wheeler, do we have any public comments? All righty. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our meeting. Since we have no public comments, I want to take the time to welcome Ms. Lynn Vols, the Executive Director for BCPF, here with us tonight, and the room full of so many other guests. We appreciate you attending our meetings. As Chairman of the Cleveland City Schools Board of Education, I'm committed to running an orderly meeting and an efficient meeting, treating everyone with respect. Board members will be provided with equal voice for all matters, should communicate through the Director of Schools for addressing his staff. Here's some reminders for our parents and our community. Board of Education policies can be found on the Cleveland City Schools website at clevelandschools.org. When there, you simply click District Board of Directors and select Board Policies. Our meetings are not public forums. However, the board has made accommodations for a city resident, a Cleveland City Schools employee, or parent guardian of a Cleveland City Schools student to address the board via a couple of ways. Those ways are identified in School Board Policy 1.404, which includes two options, along with the requirements listed. Those options being appearing before the board via pre-meeting requests or addressing the board on agenda items via same-day requests. We'll move to our first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anything, board members, that you'd like to remove from the consent agenda? I'd like to, thank you for your response or no response. I'd like to entertain a motion for accepting the consent agenda as presented in our notes. We have a second? All right. We have a first from Ms. Ingram and a second from Mr. Coleman. We can do a call to vote, please, Ms. Wheeler.
Renee Diamond,
Yes.
Matthew Coleman,
Yes.
Carolyn Ingram,
Yes.
Andy Lay,
Yes.
Peggy Pesterfield,
Yes.
Jody Riggins,
Yes.
Nate Tucker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, we'll move to our regular agenda and we'll turn over to the Director of Schools, Dr. Jeff Ellett.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tucker. We will highlight just a few things that have happened the last month and look ahead to this month as we move forward. Just a busy month for a short month here in February. The Cleveland City School Board met on a couple of occasions. During the month of February, we had a facilities committee meeting right here and talked about city growth and looked at our growth maps and worked with our city officials who came and helped us look through those. And so very informative as we continue to look at the growth in our schools, but also the future of the city of Cleveland. Cleveland City School Board members, some of board members attended TSBA and legislative conference, and I was able to join in that and enjoyed that tremendously, along with following that with the TOS Legislative and Learning Conference with all the superintendents later that week. And so it was very informative of all the legislative bills that are out there currently, the ones that have been approved and those that haven't. Cleveland City Schools conducted a system-wide session focused on the 2025-2030 strategic planning during a professional development day. We did that via live transmission from this room out to all our schools, and the staff were able to watch and participate through a survey that way. The Cleveland City School Board gathered again last week over at Candies Creek for several occasions, a follow-up facilities committee meeting where we continued to look at the growth and talked about our facilities, and then enjoyed a great morning over at Candies Creek with the students and staff there as we opened up the new expansion areas and the 6 additional classrooms. That was a great day. And just for an update, in February we did use 2 more inclement weather days, and in February, so that brings our count to 2 days left for inclement weather days. Hopefully we're moving in the right direction with that, but we will always keep a watch on that and utilize them when we need to. We have some exciting times coming up in March. First of all, this is our School Social Worker Week, and we're going to celebrate them this week. We're so glad to have our school social workers in our schools and helping our families and students out in many different ways. It's also Read Across America Week, Dr. Seuss Week here, and celebrating. We have several people out and about reading, from our students to our staff members in classes and in large groups as well, out and about this week, so that's always a fun time. Looking at going to Mayfield for our Breakfast with the Board this month, and it's always a treat to be out to our schools, and look forward to going over to Mayfield this coming month. Our board retreat is scheduled for the 28th at the end of the month, just to continue to look at our spring initiatives and things that we're working on as we move forward into the summer. So it'll be a good time to gather together for that. Kindergarten registration, it's hard to believe, we are ready to start doing enrollment and getting people on board for next school year. And it's always fun to greet our students over at CHS Arena on that day. It'll be a Saturday. We'll have a lot of community vendors there to show how they support our schools and agencies, along with our teachers and other individuals telling everything about what good things happen in Cleveland City Schools, and along with kindergarten. So that is a special day there, starting at 8 till around 3 o'clock on that Saturday at CHS Arena. Spring sports, as you've probably seen, and if you've been out and about, practices and everything, they're gearing up, practices, and now games are getting underway, and even middle school baseball starts this week. I was talking to those guys today, and it's hard to believe. Here we are for spring. Proud of all the performing arts events that have been going on, seeing some good things happening around our schools with that. And so, be watching. We'll try to keep you updated on the concerts and the spring play dates, so that if you would like to attend those, there'll be several of those around our campuses this spring. And one special note, just keep on your calendar, March 20th, that Thursday evening, we do have a Cleveland City Honors Chorus that involves all our elementary schools. And I believe this year we have a special group from the middle school also joining us. So that'll be over at the Conn Center that evening for our system-wide chorus evening there. Tonight, as we have been recognizing this school year, our champions of the month, those who go above and beyond and that are recognized by their peers. This month, we focused on Candies Creek Cherokee. And today, we were able to go by Candies Creek Cherokee and honor these 2 outstanding individuals. For our 5th grade student that we recognized today was Christy Perez Salinas. And she has done quite well. An ESL student who has moved out of that program and doing quite well over at Candies Creek. And so we recognized her with Miss Judd and over in Miss Martin's class today. And then Caleb Shelton, a 2nd grade teacher, not only the general classroom teacher, but he's always pitching in and helping out with extra programs and activities that are happening at the school. And so we wanted to recognize him today, so we were able to do that. Just a few pictures of highlights this past month. A lot of things going on. I try to highlight just a few of those key events over at Yates. The Wright brothers came and did a special presentation to our students. That was so much fun. Mayfield hosted a career day a couple of Fridays ago, a big time there. Some of our own teachers from Cleveland High School came, and that's a picture of cosmetology there. Our board, of course, was over at Candies Creek last week. Over at Ross, they did a special math project with pizza, and that was pretty cool. Valentine's dance, look at how many over at Blythe Bower came. A lot of people turned out over there. A lot of activities in the month of February. Cultural nights going on in different schools. I know we had one over at the high school, but there's one over at Stewart that was a big event recently. And just wanted to give you guys, in a way, of an update over at Arnold. The parking lot project has begun, and so we're excited, and I know they are excited about that project getting started. February for the high school and middle school, we had some big times over there. We had a guest speaker come in with a partnership with ATS The Bridge and did a tremendous job at the middle school and the high school. We celebrated our wrestlers for individual accomplishments and their team accomplishments over in Nashville. We had a really good time last week with the helicopter coming to Cleveland High School as a joint venture with the ambulance, and also, with our aviation program along with our health science programs. A lot of things going on. And then last a couple of weeks ago over at the middle school, Cleveland Middle School, you guys were there. You saw it in action as the board, the We Are Cleveland wall. And so that's pretty amazing, and thanks for that. The last thing I wanted to highlight is a couple of weeks ago I had a special visitor come by here, Sam McReynolds. Sam McReynolds was the bank president at Cleveland Bank and Trust in this building when it first opened, and he came by and wanted to just see the building and see what it looked like, and we walked through and had a really good visit, about an hour. He and his wife and a few others were with him. And there he is. He wanted to get a picture there in front of the plaque that we kept from the bank when he first opened. And it was a really good visit. And I just wanted to say I'm glad Sam and his group had that vision to build this bank building, because here we are today. So that's good. So those are my updates for this month.
Thank you, Dr. Elliott. If you don't mind, you can continue on to the spotlight.
All right, let's continue on. I'm going to ask Mr. Cliff Eason to come up to take care of this special portion of our spotlights tonight. It's to honor our school resource officers. They do a tremendous job for all of us in Cleveland City Schools, and we're so fortunate to have that great partnership with the Cleveland Police Department, and so it's good to be able to recognize them tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening. I just want to be, I'm very privileged to come before you tonight and just recognize this great group of men and women. They do a fantastic job for us, keeping our schools as safe as absolutely possible. We just wanted to take a time to say thank you to them, and what I'd like to do is ask each one of them to stand as I call their names and tell you what school they're from, and then I'm going to ask them if they will tell how long they've been on the police force, but also how long they've served as an SRO. So I think we've got this in order as far as pictures are concerned, so we'll try to go through the list now. And if you can, I know you're going to be very excited and want to cheer and applaud for them and so forth, but if you'll hold that to the very end, then we can do that all for the whole crowd at one time. You want them to come up?
Yeah, if they'll just
so
come
we
up
get
here and
picture?
make a stand up here, and then when everybody's done, then we'll be able to get a picture with everybody.
Okay. All right, to start off with, we have Cleveland High School, and we have Officer Michael Gunnell and Officer Scott Bronze. If you guys will just come up and just stand. And then just continue standing up there, and we'll get a picture in just a minute. If you guys will tell how long you've been on the police force and how many years you served as an SRO.
I've been here 23 and a half years, and this is my third year in this. I've been here 10 years, and my third year in this.
Okay, great. Cleveland Middle School, we have Officer Brandon Spence and Officer Nathan Milam. How many years on the police force?
11 years total and 3 years.
Let's go. Okay. Candies Creek, Cherokee, we have Officer Mike Harris. How many years?
32 years as officer and 13 years as
Awesome. From Arnold, we have Officer Chris Mason.
I've got 24 years in total, 21 in the city, and 10 to 12 years as an SRO.
That's great. From Stewart, we have Officer Jansen Vassy. Jansen's not here, okay. Yates, we have Officer Victor Cleveland. And on the screen, on the picture there, you'll notice we have two pictures. Officer Cleveland has just moved to Yates just since Christmas. Officer Randolph Hamilton was there previously at the beginning of the year. So Officer Cleveland, if you'll tell how many years you've been on the force. Okay, at Ross, we have Officer Mary Ledford. Great, doing a great job too. At Mayfield, we have Officer Billy Cochran. And then at Blythe Bower, we have Officer April Ratcliffe. That's great. Then I want to also mention Officer Stephen Warner is with us tonight as well. He's a supervisor for the SRO program, and he's oftentimes in our schools filling in as an SRO sometimes as well. I'd actually like to ask him to come and stand as well. And then how about a big round of applause for all of them? Thank you all very much. Some of these folks are going across the street because we have a basketball game, so we need to let them go. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Our second spotlight for the evening is our featured school for this month. It's Candies Creek, Cherokee. So Ms. Watner is going to come and kick things off for Candies Creek, Cherokee.
I'm not as tall as Mr. S, so I'm going to come to the side of the podium here. All right, thank y'all for having us tonight. We're always excited to brag on our school. I'm Mrs. Whitener. I'm the principal at Candies Creek, Cherokee. Mr. Schwarzentrooper is here. He's our assistant principal. And then I have the real ones in charge down here. We have 4 members of our leadership club that are also going to share some things with you this evening. All right, so construction is finished. That's the biggest highlight for us. I won't let Mr. Eason know how we got these pictures in the presentation. So we've taken some pictures along the way, and it's just been a really cool journey to see start to finish what construction has taken, and then our finished products, which you all got to see last week. So we're just really excited about our 6 new classrooms. We have some very antsy teachers that are currently moving in boxes, like behind the scenes. So they're all really excited to get into their new rooms. And we are excited to get classes back into classrooms where they belong. So we appreciate all of your support through that process. And Hal and his team, the construction team, has just been awesome through the whole process. So we really appreciate all the support. Okay, talking a little bit about our school. This is my first year as principal. This is Mr. Schwarzentrooper's first year as assistant principal. So we just came up with 3 kind of overarching goals for the year, and those were to strengthen our systems that support academics first, behavior second, and attendance third. So those are the 3 things we try and keep in mind with every decision we make. Is this going to move these 3 areas forward with our students and our families? These are questions appropriately construction themed that we talked about with our staff back in August, and we've continued to revisit these. And these have just been some good grounding, anchoring questions, again, for the decisions that we're making in our building. First, what do we want our next 5 years to look like? It's hard to believe that we're in year 6 of being open. Next year will be year 7. So, what do we want our school to look like in the next 5 years? Question 2 is blank, whatever we're talking about, helping our students move toward academic success. Third, what do we want our portrait of a Thunderbird to include for students K-5? So we like to think about, field trips they take. We don't want them to go to the aquarium in kindergarten, 2nd, and 4th grade. We want them to have different experiences on field trips throughout their years in elementary school. Our STEM projects, we want those to look different and appropriate at every grade level. So just really trying to vertically team and have our teachers talk to each other about what we're doing in each grade level, I think is important for our kids and also our staff, and they've done a really great job with that. And then lastly, what controllables can we enact now to have impact? There's a lot that we can't control in public schools, so we talk about, what we can control and our building to make the best decisions for our kids and our staff. Academic celebrations for us. This was a big highlight coming into the year. We moved up 1 achievement point in every area on TCAP, so we were really proud of that. The highlight for us especially was that green 4 down there that you see in literacy. So I think we're definitely moving in the right direction in terms of our academics, and we want to continue doing that. And then we were also proud of our B letter report card from the state for this year as well. So lots of great achievement in our building, and we're really working on growth year to year. Okay, this is an easy part to talk about. Our council systems, I think these guys would agree with me, right, is one of the highlights of our school. We've worked really hard this year to strengthen our council system. And what that is, every student in our building is a member of one of the 4 councils you see up there, either fire, water, or earth, or air. And each of them stand for different things. They have different representations that they talk about, different chants and cheers that they do. It gets pretty competitive, right? Would you agree? Yeah. So we've really worked on that this year. Students and staff, the staff get pretty competitive with it too, I'll be honest. They earn points for doing anything around our building where our SOAR, safety, ownership, accountability, and respect is what SOAR stands for. So anytime we see that embodied out in our building, we like to give them points for doing what we expect as a Thunderbird. And then we've enacted council reward days this year. So every quarter we have a winner. So quarter 1 winner, I believe, was the Council of Water, and they did a parkour with Valley, which if you've not heard about it, it's fantastic. It's movement therapy and ultimate tag that he came and played with the kids. I think Mr. Schwartzentruber twisted his ankle during that event. So the kids loved that. Quarter 2, we did our Star Wars lightsaber training with Mr. Williams from the middle school. So every winner, who won quarter 2? Earth. See, Coy remembers. Earth won quarter 2. They got to participate in that and get some training, and we did concession stand with that. So that was a big hit. And then quarter 3, we're about to do this week. The winning council was Air, and they're getting a sock dance. So they take off their shoes in the gym and go around in their socks, and they love it. So that's what they're getting to do for quarter 3. So those winning councils doing the right things with our SOAR expectations get to participate in those rewards. Oh, I went too far. Okay, just going along with that, obviously PBIS, our goal with that is to improve our behavior and our expectations around the building. So this is just a chart of our office referrals for the year. So as you can see, we're trending down, and we like to stay there. So lots of kids doing the right things around our building, and it's been great so far. And I'll let Mr. S. talk about attendance.
So one of the things we want to just continue to know is that when kids are at school, that we have the most impact. And so we're trying to do everything we can to make sure they're there every day. And so we've got a lot of different things going on to be able to do that. We do the Cherokee games once every 4.5 weeks, where kids randomly are selected from the population to come participate. And if they're absent that day, they don't get to participate. So we try to do that. We try to just boost different ways. We have perfect attendance rewards. We have different random days where we'll bring kids down for attendance and being there. And so we're proud to say that we have a 94.6% average daily attendance, and we have 105 kids right now with perfect attendance at our school. And so keeping that in mind, our goal as we continue moving forward is those kids that are chronically absent. Right now we're at 12.8%, and we're constantly looking at that number, trying to dial that back down and get it below 12.8%. So if you just kind of look at those grade level chronic absences, the biggest one, which is no surprise to anyone, is kindergarten. And that's one of the ones we're working on continually, just because they come in and, I mean, honestly, they just get each other sick. Like, it's just crazy. So I had no idea coming from, I thought middle schoolers were kind of dirty, but like I came there and it's like, whoa, kindergarten. So I learned something new. And this is something we're really proud of. As you look, the green line represents our average daily attendance, so the kids that are here every single day, that continues to go up. So the kids that are being here are being here. We're really proud about our nearly chronic absent. Those are the kids that are the bubble kids, and that line is trending down. So our next focus is looking at the kids that are chronically absent, and we're trying to create initiatives to specifically target those chronically absent kids to try and give them incentives to be at school more often, because those are the ones that are missing the most instruction and losing the most learning. And so we're trying to target that moving forwards, and that's our goal just as we continue the rest of this year and into next year. And some of the perfect attendance rewards I've stolen from other, like Mr. Garcia over at Mayfield taught me about Mario Kart relays. So you put Mario Kart on a jumbo screen, and every 10 seconds you yell switch, and the kids throw the remote to the next kid, and they run around. Like, it's awesome. It's just fun Mario Kart. Half of them don't even know what the accelerate button is. So like they're just staring at the screen and it's just hilarious. Then in November and December, we did a silent disco where we have a set of silent disco, and so you have 3 different soundtracks on, and so these kids are all having their headphones on, and they're listening to their own tunes and like dancing, and it's actually dead silent. So it's wonderful for everybody involved, unless you're the DJ. That is pretty stressful. And then today we actually celebrated our perfect attendance for January and February with a little extra recess this morning. I got my workout in, playing tag with a bunch of kids. Also almost broke my ankle again. So we're just having lots of fun doing those things and making sure that there are incentives for perfect attendance. And we're trying to recognize kids that are there every day and recognize the kids that are chronically absent. And so just making sure that we're trying to hit everybody and make sure that we're taking care of everybody.
All right, I'm going to have these 4 come up. Come on up. Don't be shy. And so these 4, I'll let them introduce themselves. These 4 are members of our leadership club at Candice Creek. Miss Lay is our school sponsor. She's the teacher that facilitates this group. They meet usually about twice a month. And one of the activities I asked them to do was to share why they loved our school. And so after Miss Lay did that with them, I kind of looked through their writing. And so I picked out just some highlights, and they're going to share those with you this evening. So Jade, tell them your name.
My name is Jade Stamper, 4th grade.
You are involved in
Leadership Club.
and council?
Fire.
Okay, and tell them why you love our school.
I love our school because of leadership and choir, and also because it's the best school ever.
I didn't pay you to say that either, did I? No. Okay, good job. All right, next up is Coy Hudson. And introduce yourself, Coy.
Hi, I'm Coy. I'm in 5th grade. I do leadership, play basketball. I'm in Beta Club, and I'm in the Council of Air.
And tell them your favorite part about Candice Creek, Cherokee.
I said my favorite part is all the kind people and teachers in it. Another thing is the academics and all the spectacular teachers that make it fun.
And the teachers didn't pay you to say that, right? Okay. Good job, Coy. Here's your paper. All right, Anne Marie Eldridge. Sorry, I just totally introduced you. I'll let you do it again.
Hi, my name's Anne Marie Eldridge. I'm in 5th grade. I do leadership club, drama, and the musical. I'm in Council of Fire.
And the best thing you've learned at Candice Creek?
Probably math. Math has never really clicked for me, and I've never had a good understanding of it. But my 5th grade math teacher, Miss Judd, has done a really good job of explaining things. Very good about it.
Great job. Thank you. And last up is Maddie Hicks. Sorry, I just introduced you again. I'm stealing your thunder. I'll be quiet now.
My name's Madison Hicks. I'm in 4th grade.
Go ahead.
I'm in 4th grade. I'm in leadership club. I did 4th and 5th grade basketball, and I'm in the musical cast. I'm in Council of Fire.
And tell them about Thunderbird soaring. You know you are soaring when?
I time being safe, taking ownership, being accountable, and being respectful.
Awesome job, Maddie. All right, and that I think that's it. And if you all want to ask them any questions, I know they're probably going to be able to answer them better than me and Mr. S. So we're open to questions if y'all have any.
All right. Thank you all. Y'all, any questions? All right. And as we transition out of the spotlight, we did have one more area to update you on, and it's about our summer program overview. It's that time of year that we bring an overview to the board so you know what's happening during the summer. And Mr. Adam Moss has helped us spearhead this the last few years and continues to do that. And so we are bringing that update to you at this time.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Elliott. Is this on? We're very excited for summer 2025. We love having a good, positive theme to engage the kids, get them excited. This summer is Camp Raider Myths and Legends. All of the mythological and legendary figures, folklore, and myth busters. Our previous summers, we really try to get a good balance of work hard and play hard. We have rigorous academics in the areas of ELA and math. You can see some examples on the screen from the past couple of summers. And we balance that out with play hard, with physical activity in STEM. You know, the State Department provides us the funding for this. They have requirements in all of these areas, and we do everything we can to get the kids engaged in the month of June. Our summer details are on the screen. We have 4 weeks, 4 days each week in the month of June. That's only 16 sessions. Our youngest learners are going to be at Yates Primary. We're going to pull our rising 4th and 5th graders to Ross. The middle school will keep our rising middle school, and then our programs at the high school. This summer, we are implementing a new internal pre- and post-test brief to the point and aligned with what we are instructing on. The state does a nice job of providing post-tests, but those aren't targeted to our needs. So we're going to take some time to really differentiate to what we need to see and to show our growth from our kids in our summer programs. Of course, breakfast, lunch, and snacks are provided. A big thank you to Hal Taylor, Valerie Mack, and the whole transportation team. We had about 15 drivers last summer and are anticipating similar supports. We have lots of safety in place from an SRO at every site, a nurse, a school counselor, and just about anything else in between. Ms. Lombard has some more information.
Yeah, Ms. Shirley Lombard is part of our TAB team and is involved in all of our schools in different ways. And so she had an added component to our summer programs that we're adding this summer. So I'm going to let her speak to that real quick.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like Adam and I, we're like summer villains, just creating programs for students to take the joy out of summer. But we're very excited about this program, to pilot this new program. It's an online program where we have students between like 3 to 5 students in the group. This is going to last like about for 4 weeks between June 2nd to 26th. We're hoping that these sessions would be facilitated by our school counselors. And of course, being in the school system, I've seen like there's so many different needs that the students are struggling with, especially behaviorally. Some of the things that they struggle with is social awareness. They struggle with emotional regulations, and they also struggle with self-control. So these small group is targeted to help students kind of build those skills by repetition, repetition, repetition. Because we notice starting the school year, we feel like we're firefighters putting out fires. So we hope that this program is going to continue to help kids to be confident emotionally in the school and also to kind of get them ready academically when they feel confident in the classroom. There's also going to be aligned by the Tennessee School Counseling policy and standards, and we're hoping that we could target at least 60 students, which will give us like 12 groups in total. And well, I talked to Dr. Kars about this, and we're collaborating with the Stronger Connection grant. So we're hoping that that grant will be able to fund this. And at the end of the day, we're just hoping that this will bring more connection to our students. And we're hoping that behaviorally we can address those needs or those deficits in students as the year starts in our new school year.
And again, these programs are summer programs. The summer camp are paid through state funds, and so that helps us take care of not only this programming and the staffing for that, but also for the transportation piece that Mr. Moss was talking about as well. So we still have that in the formula from the state. So, yeah. Any questions for our team planning our summer programs?
Adam, how are these students chosen, or is it open to anyone?
That's a great question. So the state law does require us to identify priority students, and we determine priority students as students who are scoring one or more grade levels behind in ELA or math at our mid-year benchmarks. And then once those students have had an opportunity to enroll, if there is additional space in those grade levels, we open it up to any student who wants to attend. And we have managed very small wait lists over the past few years, and we've always found a way to get the kids involved who want to be involved.
So some of them are they required to attend?
Well, we don't have a board policy that requires priority students to attend. The only ones who would be required are in line with that third grade retention promotion law. You know, third grade students who don't pass the ELA TCAP, some of those may be required to attend, and we work very closely with principals and parents to help them meet those needs.
Sounds like a great program, and thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you for your support. We really enjoy it. Yes, Peggy?
Doesn't seem to want to work for me.
It's okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
If you have more than 60 students, can you accommodate more?
I think she's talking about your program.
I think we could accommodate more, just depending on the school counselors, the interests of the school counselors, and our funding.
That's good.
Yes.
It sounds like a wonderful program.
Thank you.
I'll be anxious to hear about it. Is this your first year to do this?
This is our first year pilot in this program.
Well, we were looking forward to hearing how it all goes this fall.
Yes, I'm looking forward to
Thank you.
that too.
I have a couple questions too. One about the TAB program. I see counselor referrals, but is there a TAB program currently running in the system?
Yes, ma'am, we have a tab. And those are students, tier 3 students, higher flyers, students that are at risk and they're struggling emotionally and behaviorally. And so we do get referrals for our tab. So those are the students that we're going to be focusing on. And we're also going to have counselors who will be giving us referrals.
Right.
So we're hoping that to build a connection, because we've been working with them all throughout this year. And so we're hoping that we'll continue to build connection with them over the summer, and so that there wouldn't be such a huge deficit when they come back to us in the new school year.
Yeah, I'm interested also in the fall in how they do, and even maybe tracking those students throughout next school year to see if there's been some long-term.
Yes.
I also have one question about the pre and post, the one that you guys are developing locally. Like, what's the local goal that you're trying to identify through that pre and post?
So we want to keep it fairly brief, 4 or 5 questions, because the less time we have assessing, the more time we have for instruction. And we are just establishing how effective our summer academics are. You know, it's only 16 sessions, but we do believe that we have an impact in those 16 sessions, and it's just been a challenge to measure that with the state's post tests. So we want to align at every grade level. What are we actually working on those 16 sessions, and how much of an impact are we seeing from the beginning to the end?
So like an ELA goal and a math goal? Yeah. Great, thanks.
Just one more thing. I had an opportunity to kind of do a similar program in the previous district, and we have seen, like, teachers have commented how they have seen, you know, students able to self-regulate in the classroom, and also emotionally, like they were able to grow stronger there, and also it affected the academics as well.
Yeah.
So we did have experience in the other last district I was in as well.
The State Department put out a document called, I think it's the Tennessee Social and Personal Competencies, which is a little bit different than the counselor standards. It's social and personal competencies, just for students rather than teachers, so that might be a helpful resource too.
Yes. Thank you.
Adam, is it hard to find teachers?
You know, one would think it would be, but we have more than enough teachers who want to work our summer programs.
Great.
And they're not asking to split 2 weeks and 2 weeks. They're committing to our full summer program. And we have more than enough interest from some wonderful individuals.
That's great.
So if you're okay with it, Dr. Elliott, maybe we can identify a date sometime during the summer where board members can go see it, because it's a pretty interesting program and exciting to see the students engaged in learning there in these, and particularly for those that haven't seen it. So
Yeah, sure. We'll work on a date and get one in there, and sometime right in the middle of June, and go by and check it out. So that'd be good.
thanks for all you guys do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's not a gotcha, though.
All right, next on the agenda, we have science textbook adoption. I'm sorry, I skipped one. It is Director of Schools Evaluation Instrument. And this is a voting item. So you guys have been provided this instrument, and now we're here to talk about it. Do you have any questions?
Is this the same one we used last year?
It's probably, there's some similarities, very much so, to that. And I was going back to look. I couldn't remember if y'all did one last year formally during that time, that process, but it's very similar to one that I've seen in the past. I looked at a few other districts, and there were some similarities using the key components of the board policy job description.
So you did this, or did you?
Yes, I took this from starting with one that we had done a couple of years ago, and then I also looked at a couple other school systems, and these are some similar things from it.
So will you explain the process?
Yes, so the thought is after you approve this, then we will set up individual board meetings, have discussions. You can ask questions. I can provide you with a document to share evidence of these components. You can ask questions. Then you all would have an individual time to complete the ratings and turn those in to Ms. Wheeler, and Ms. Wheeler and Mr. Tucker would gather to total those ratings and then bring those to the next board meeting in April.
Any questions, concerns? All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the Director of Schools Evaluation Instrument for 2025 as proposed.
So moved. I second.
Have a first and a second. Ms. Wheeler, call the vote.
Matt Coleman.
Yes.
Carolyn Ingram.
Yes.
Andy Lay.
Yes.
Peggy Peskerfield.
Yes.
Jody Riggins.
Yes.
Nate Tucker.
Yes.
Renee Diamond.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the science textbook adoption.
Okay, and for that, I'm going to invite Dr. Lang and Ms. Bender to the podium. Dr. Lang oversees the secondary portion of this selection, and then Ms. Bender, the elementary portion.
All right, it's great to be here this evening to talk a little bit about science textbooks. First of all, I'd like to talk about our timeline. And this is similar to what we did in math last year. Now, we have in October, we put together a steering committee of teacher leaders and science teachers from K-12. And then we also looked at what the state, we had to wait for the state to approve books that were on a list, because these books have to go through a vetting process. And it's a very rigorous vetting process. As a matter of fact, Kelly and I were talking, there were only 4 vendors who made it through the vetting process for K-5. And there were 8 for the middle school and 5 for the high school. So there weren't nearly as many as there were in math. They had to follow all of our standards. They had to be vetted through teachers and to go through different committees and then voted on by the state textbook committee. So then what we did is we like to have our own vendor presentations in Cleveland City. We're invited to caravans throughout the state, but we like our own. So what we did was in December, we invited all of the vendors here, And we had committees that they listened to all of the vendors and filled out scoring rubrics. And then we took the top 2 of each of those, and those vendors came back in January and presented to all of our teachers. So our teachers got to hear all about these vendors. They got to hear about the textbooks, and then they voted because we wanted them to have ownership of what was going on. And then we took feedback. We sent questionnaires and feedback. We put them all here at the AOB for, I'm so sorry. ESC. I'm back to last year. Oh, I can't believe I did that. We put them all in the atrium of the ESC for any public that wanted to come in and look. We put them on our website for parents to be able to look. I think you all were invited with an email to look at them online or to come here. And then we had public comments on these textbooks as well, because we wanted to be very transparent to everyone so that they could see what we're looking at before we choose the textbooks for our students. Ms. Bender.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so the vision statement that we had for this whole process was that we believe in our classroom, all students are capable of meeting the expectations of the science standards and deserve strong, engaging instruction supported by highly aligned instructional materials and resources that make them excited about learning. And that's what we were thinking about the entire time we were working on this whole adoption process. So the next things you're going to see, the decision was made for McGraw-Hill. That's the recommendation we are making to you tonight for grades K through 8. And I'll let you see just a few comments. These comments come from teachers, and then we have some from parents as well. Teachers said, the teacher's guide and the student workbooks are well organized, teacher-friendly, and student workbooks are age-appropriate. Includes all of the standards laid out at a glance so that one can quickly find the standard and the correlated lesson. McGraw-Hill had many options for students to be interactive during the lesson. The program would be very beneficial to schools that are working on towards STEM designation. It's reading-based, scientifically sound, and rigorous. Easy access to the digital side of the content, and leveled readers were provided to support for learners of all levels. Those comments came from our teachers. And they are the ones that will be using the material and are the experts as far as classroom instruction. The parent comments, there was a broad variety of science topics with several different ways to learn. It looked very solid looking curriculum with graphics and photos that are eye-catching and create curiosity and connections to real life. I noticed that there were a lot of resources to the students with to cater to students with different needs. And the last one was, it was appealing to children with many hands-on lab activities. So those were comments that we had about McGraw-Hill for our parents and our teachers.
It was a little more complicated for 612 because we did not have vendors that took all of the classes that we offer at Cleveland High School. They would only have so many approved. So for example, from the state committee, there may be a vendor and the state would only approve so many different grades of textbooks or so many different classes. And so we had to piece together our recommendation for high school. Now, the high school for biology, chemistry, and physics, their recommendation was STEM scopes. Then, for earth and space science, physical science, and environmental science, their recommendation for the teachers was McGraw-Hill. And some of the teacher comments, and we had more about, of course, the STEM scopes, but it was overwhelmingly a majority for those 3 courses that I just mentioned. STEM Scopes offers the most practical, consistent, and supportive materials for chemistry, physics, and biology. The book does not have any unrelated or irrelevant material involved and provides easily digestible content for students to read and to understand. They also offer a translated book to support our EL students and provide supports in their assignments and activities as well. The differentiated supports also helpful, providing low, medium, and high learners with the support they need. Teachers also said that the online platform was very easy to use and to operate. And this is very important since we use one-to-one technology. Teachers need something that's going to be available and ready to use. They provide one-on-one support if needed, and they have a full professional development suite to train on how to use the material with fidelity. And the teachers felt that this was a superior product. I can tell it was designed by teachers with teachers in mind. The information, easy to digest, presented in a fashion similar, if not identical, to how we present the material in class. They were much more user-friendly. So the high school, for the physics, the chemistry, and the biology, they overwhelmingly recommend STEM scopes. Then we had for earth and space science, physical science, and environmental science, the recommendation is McGraw-Hill. Do you have any questions about the process or how we, or anything?
Kelly, for the students, well, the teacher, does she have in her schedule a set time to have science, or is she going to use it as part of her, say, her literacy program?
Yeah, well, that's the big question. To be perfectly honest, in grades 4 and 5, we have several schools that are departmentalized, so they will have time. The great thing that McGraw-Hill provided for the teachers, and it was one of the things that made it overwhelmingly popular to the kindergarten, first and second grade classrooms, is they had lesson in a glance, and it had a section in the text in the teacher's edition that said, if you only have 30 minutes a week to do for science, these are the hot topics right here. This is the most important thing from this lesson. You can teach this, and your students will not miss a beat as they continue spiraling that curriculum. So it's very difficult, Carolyn, and we currently are addressing science and social studies standards both through the ELA curriculum in kindergarten, first and second, and third in some situations. But this will allow it. There aren't enough times. The thing that Dr. Lang and Dr. Elliott and I discussed during this time is we don't want to put anything else on teachers' plates. We know that ELA and math are the most important thing for them to be able to do, and we want them to teach it. We want our students to be able to grasp those concepts and master those skills. And at the same time, we've got to find a way to integrate some of this other material, specifically science, so that when they get to 4th and 5th grade, they are right on track, and then they can soar when they get to the middle school and the high school for those specific science classes.
I realize and know from past experience how hard it is to get those other than reading, writing, and arithmetic.
It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I have a question for Dr. Lang. Is what you have done in the high school, are you finding that's going to be more expensive?
No, I've actually asked for some quotes. We had budget meetings with Ms. Guerin and Dr. Elliott, I guess it was last week, and I had done a proposed budget of what all of the textbooks would cost. It's not different going from vendor to vendor.
Okay.
They all are pretty much on track. And then this adoption, the state changed the adoption from 6 years to 8 years. So we're going to be adopting materials every 8 years. So now when we're getting our quotes, it seems a little bit large monetarily, but it's for an 8-year adoption.
Right.
Yeah, and also what I was going to refer, and I was telling Kelly about, we've talked a lot about K2 and science, and so we don't want teachers to see that they're getting this material and say, oh no, I'm overwhelmed, I cannot get all of this in my classroom. We're very cognizant of that, and so we're getting a group of the lower elementary teachers together to write a pacing guide. Do you want to do one lab in 9 weeks? What do you think would fit? And then have that pacing guide for teachers, by teachers, without teachers feeling overwhelmed about incorporating all the science material in the lower elementary grades.
Good luck.
I know.
I have a couple of questions too. Ms. Lang, are
Yes.
y'all also, like in the contract, is there a PD package included for
There
the
is.
high school?
There is. We make sure that they will have the professional development, and we usually, that's what we've been talking about today, is when are we going to get this in? When are we going to be able to offer this PD? But we do. We actually still have, they give us so many days, but we are doing PD packages with every vendor K-12.
Great. I know teachers typically appreciate not having them right before school starts,
know.
But that's good to know. And y'all are going to do, Kelly, y'all are going to do a full purchase for K-5? Yeah.
Yeah, let me say that. That's our goal.
That's our goal.
As we're
That's
looking
our
at
goal.
budget.
That's our goal.
This is the vote for the adoption of the material, because we all, every school district must adopt the curriculum. And so as we evaluate our budget through the budget process, then we'll determine all the way up what we need. The goal is to get one for a set for all our teachers and classrooms, but again, that's part of this budget process right now.
Sure.
Yeah, each of these come with lab kit prices. And so we've been looking at the science lab kits, especially for elementary, and the amount of money that they are quoting us for lab kits just seems to be out of reach of what we could do if we went shopping for those items ourselves and made our own lab kits for the elementary. Now, middle and high have a little bit more specialized material in their lab kits. We may have to purchase some of those, but then we want to know which labs, for example, K2, would they even do any? What would they do? And then what could we do from the district to purchase those and put those together?
Right.
Because that's what they are offering, lots of lab kits at a very high price.
I've done that before.
Yes.
Go to Walmart and
That's
get the
that's
things.
exactly what we were
Yes.
looking. I was even looking at Dollar Tree,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
it's things like string and
Right.
poster board and things like that.
Right.
Cotton balls, right?
I know that Accelerate is a very hands-on
Yes,
curriculum.
the STEM scopes. Yes,
STEM scopes,
yes, by Accelerate Learning. That's
yeah,
correct.
so I mean, that might be worth your while to check out those packages, or at least see what's required of that. I have one more question,
Sure.
and then I'll stop.
Sure.
And Kelly, you just mentioned about departmentalization. Do you mind just kind of giving me a general feel for like who's departmentalized and at what grades?
Yes, I can do that. In 4 of our elementary schools, we have 4th and 5th grade departmentalization. And we have a couple of schools that are considering moving that down to 3rd grade for next year, but they've not done that yet. So that leaves, there's 4 that are departmentalized. There are 2 that are not departmentalized at this point in time. And some of that is because of teacher makeup and the number of teachers in each grade level.
Sure.
It's hard to departmentalize when you have 2 teachers, and it's
Sure it
it's
is.
much easier to departmentalize when you have 4. So
Right.
some of that just
Yes.
depends on staffing.
Absolutely. I know teachers that I've worked with appreciate the laser focus on content areas. So I like
Yeah,
departmentalization.
it's gone kind of full circle, because of the way that there's so much time now that's required for ELA. It's very hard to find that departmentalized time in K through 5 when you're spending 2 hours on ELA and 90 minutes on math, and then you have all the other things you have to do. So our building level principals are doing a great job at working the schedule at what best fits their personnel
Sure.
and their staff and their
Thank
school.
you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Lane.
One other, I just trying to clarify. We did have, you said teachers, it was a teacher survey that was sent out, right? And then we had teachers respond to that.
Yes, we had
if I
teacher
remember
survey,
that.
and then we had parent community survey.
And that was the teachers were all the grade levels all the way up.
Yes,
Is that correct?
all grade levels, all the way up.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Elliott, do you submit this as a recommendation for the board to adopt the science textbooks as presented?
Yes, make this as a recommendation to adopt these McGraw-Hill for K-8, and then the two titles that were mentioned for 9-12, that would be the STEM scopes and McGraw-Hill for the secondary level.
I make a motion.
Make a motion. I'll second.
There we go. All right. All right, Ms. Wheeler will call for a vote.
Okay, Carolyn Ingram. Carolyn.
Yes.
Andy Lay.
Yes.
Peggy Pesterfield.
Yes.
Jody Riggins.
Yes.
Nate Tucker.
Yes.
Renee Diamond.
Yes.
Matt Coleman. Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the bus patrol presentation.
Okay. Mr. Hal Taylor is going to come as a follow-up to our meeting last month. He shared some numbers, and then we have a recommendation for the board to consider this evening.
Good evening. I want to start off with the real person who's in charge of transportation, and that's Valerie Mack came tonight, and I want to let her know how much we appreciate her, and she can help answer questions that we run into. And I also want to thank some other folks that have come tonight that we've talked to about this program, and Chief Marks Gibson and Lieutenant Evie West as well. We've talked to them about bus patrol, and so as we bring this to you tonight, we want you to know, that they're welcome. Chief, please, chime in at any point with this, so. Okay. As we start this, a lot of this will be information. I put together a presentation that will, if you want to move forward with this, that we will eventually take to the city council, because this would have to be something, since it involves the chief and his department, that we would eventually take to city council if it's something you choose to move forward with as well. So a lot of this we covered last time. I won't spend a lot of time, but the number of students, the number of buses, and so forth. And I mentioned I was going to bring before you to the bus patrol. And the number one thing is what it is. It's an AI-enabled stop-arm camera school bus safety program. It changes driver behavior for good, and that's really what we want to concentrate on tonight. There is a revenue side of this. But from the school system standpoint, that changes driver behavior. 90% of violators do not receive a second ticket, and this becomes an education piece for us. And we'll get to the videos here in a second, and when we get to the videos, that's one of the things I want y'all to realize what this is about. I'm showing you this first still shot. That is a late driver that no longer works for us, but this is a picture from 10 years ago. This was a very rough day to get a phone call. This is what was going on the bus just before on Westland Drive on the south end of town, just before a driver ran his stop sign and hit a young girl in front of those apartments. If you were to listen to this, you would hear something that would probably bother you for sleeping tonight. Okay, I'll leave it at that. But this was our student that 10 years ago got hit. It broke her hip and leg in 3 different places. And that was a day that was a very eye-opening experience for me. When you go out someplace and you have to go console a driver, and the ambulances are there and the police are there, and you find out a student has been hit by a careless driver who simply wasn't paying attention that morning. It was a young driver going to a different look from another school in our area, and he simply didn't have experience, and he thought the yellow lights on the bus were like the yellow lights at a red light, and so he just tried to beat the bus, and but the child didn't see him coming, and she stepped right out in front. So a lot of what we're talking about tonight is educating the public. That's our main goal. This is also one of the things we run into with keeping drivers. After we get a new driver and they get on the road and they have a number of close calls, they start saying, what are you going to do about it? Well, what are the police going to do about it? Well, that sounds very easy, but what you find out is in order for the police in the state of Tennessee to do anything, they have to be involved and they have to see it. So that means typically one person on the bus and an officer following an unmarked car. Well, think of the labor that involves and ties up our police department to do that. Okay, that's a tremendous amount of labor for them to come around, and you can't always count on the same people running those stop signs every day in the same place. So because of that, we had laws passed about 1.5 years ago that actually put some teeth into filming and doing stop arm cameras to try to put a stop to this and a stop to running these stop signs, like I said, which is a real detriment to our students. So let me move on here. This is the first video I want to show you. This video is going to be one of the most common and probably the thing we need to educate parents the most, and it's multi-lanes. I'm going to hit this right off the bat. If you'll notice, the yellow light means that it's flashing, and the red, right there, the sign comes out, and look at the cars continuing to pass this bus. Okay? This is what's confusing in our community, because you see one person continuing to drive and you tend to follow them and think, well, they must know what they're doing. But all of those drivers that just went by, in that case, should have stopped for that stop sign. Here's another case where, again, all these are in Cleveland. This occurred last month in Cleveland. That truck running right by. Okay. I want you to watch this one. This one takes a minute to realize that this could have been in the morning time. So you see the car run right by the stop sign. Now, this one takes a minute. It's in the afternoon, but realize these are the same children getting on this bus in the morning. And think about when it's dark, and the next video will be a point to that. We have 4 children getting ready to walk across the street with this one. And again, if you have worked around special needs, you know a lot of our children who maybe have some developmental conditions don't think anything about running across the road in front of a bus. And that's one of our main concerns too. We do have drivers that try to train the children to watch them and watch for their cue, but getting them to always follow that direction is not always possible. This last one, before I show you, it's very dark. There's a stop sign up in the right part of the screen. There's a student that you can't hardly see standing by that stop sign. Again, the yellow lights, when you see the dot in the top left corner, that means the caution lights or flashing lights are on. When it goes red, the sign's coming out. Look at the car that right on by. Now look at the stop sign, the student in the dark clothing. And then I have one more video for you. This is a compilation of just all near misses that happened here in Cleveland last month. That's in front of one of our schools. The other was in front of Bradley High. There's Cumberland subdivision off Free Will Road. In January, we didn't go to school, of course, every day in January. So just for the amount of time we went, this is from before, I'll repeat it. Just in January, from the 7th to the 29th, only on 5 school buses, 5. In 294 locations, we had 154 violations. That's 6 times the national average. Now, those are the 5 worst school buses that we have that we knew we had problems with people running signs, and those were picked for our selection to do a study. So yes, we hopefully aren't having that going on every single bus, but 154 violations. When I seen this, it was scary to think that we've only had 1 10 years ago. It's scary to think of what could be happening, and what I hear from my bus drivers saying that I almost had a child get hit today. I almost had a middle school student get hit or a high schooler get hit. We're hearing that every day. Valerie, I think, can vouch that it's not a day go by that we're not seeing it, and we're only identifying it now that we have the exact locations of where it's occurring and occurring on a regular basis. So moving forward, bus patrol is a company that's talked to us. The way we would implement this is it's pretty much 100% violator funded. They've set this company up so that it's financially set up to where it doesn't cost the school system anything. There is an agreement because of the investment they make. They ask that a 5-year agreement be made. If any time during the agreement we decide to part ways with them, then there would be a payback fee for the equipment that's on the bus that would break down by year. Every year that goes by, it would be less of a fee. All funds collected are provided to the LEA. We then pay $225 per month a bus for each bus that has the cameras on it, plus $65 per citation back to the company. Then generally what's speaking is what they see most is that the LEA then provides the remaining funds back to your local police department to handle and cover their expenses. Because in order for this to work in the state of Tennessee, the police department has to have an officer review the video and agree that that was a person that broke the law. Then he approves that the video, or he agrees that the video is showing that the person broke the law, and then the citation is then handed out. This company fully handles the collection, and it fully handles the citation. They handle everything about it, and then they send the funds to the LEA, and then we, like I said, in most cases, that is given back to the police department to cover their expenses for that person okaying and watching the videos. They said that if you were to break it down on a percentage basis, when they came and talked to us, that it ends up being that when the citations are all handled and said and done, that they end up getting about 60 to 65% of the citation, and the police department ends up getting taken about, or depending how if you do it city or police department, that they would get 35 to 40% of the citation. Citations in the state of Tennessee for the very first offense are now $250, and the second citation is $500. And once the cameras are outfitted, or the buses are outfitted with cameras, one of the benefits is they would also outfit the interior of the buses with cameras that have live feed in the event of an emergency. So we would have on-demand live feed in our buses that had these cameras on them, along with an emergency button that a driver could notify us he has a situation on a bus, and we could go immediately to watch that live feed to see what was happening on that bus. So that's the program. I've gone into it a lot with you as far as the different aspects of it. Do you have any questions about it? How can I help explain the program or
Hal,
concerns?
have you talked to any other school system who has used this?
No, ma'am, not in Tennessee. There's about 350 school systems across the country, 35,000 buses that use this. No one in Tennessee has done this yet. We are one of the first ones to pilot this program. Hamilton County and Robertson County are now in the process of piloting this program. And so we're the first ones here to do this. Yes.
Hal, have we ever published in the newspaper the number of violations and the locations of those violations, so the public would, be cognizant about what's happening and hoping that would go down?
We never knew exactly how bad the problem was. We didn't have a way to keep up with the number of violations until this program came along. So no, we haven't done that. We have done press before. Matter of fact, the police department's helped us do some PR campaigns where they have ridden on the bus, and we have gotten that out in the paper, and we've done some things. We've gotten on Channel 3 before where we have gotten out there and done it, but it doesn't last very long. We may get someone to come out and do that for a little while, but again, it's so labor intensive. And of course, officers can't run around in unmarked cars every day. Right. So when the officers show up in a marked car, people become aware, and then we don't have the occurrences of it. So this is the first time we've actually been able to see how bad the problem really is.
But it'll be on a camera, so you can see exactly how.
Yeah, the camera you're seeing is one. There's 3 cameras filming that, so that they get the license plate. There is also a whole program here. You do a public relations campaign, and you get very involved in educating the public before you do this. And then for 30 days, you send out warnings. You don't send out citations. You let people get warnings and let them know, what's coming in the future. And like I said, you do this along with a public campaign to change behavior. And unfortunately, just quite honestly, getting in people's pocketbook does change behavior and makes them think about it. So
Well, it may improve things in other cities too, once they understand what's happening here
We-
and seeing it.
the state's actually very interested in this. If we choose to move forward with that, we'll be getting monitored by the Department of Safety, the head of pupil transportation with the Department of Safety, as well as the head of transportation with the state education. They have shown interest, and especially if we're the first ones to do it. I just found that out Friday, that they would like to come down and see how it works and follow through with this.
Hal, my question really goes to enforceability of this, and it may be something Eva can get up and jump on when we get in there. When we look at $250 per bus, let's say we've got 10 buses, you start doing the math on that.
Right.
If we, for some reason, in 2 years, stop using this system or stop collecting those fees, we're going to be strapped to a big chunk of change for the remainder of that contract. And we've had third parties come in the past here with stoplights or traffic four-way intersections, and they've had those things. And I think after a couple of years, we stopped that, issuing citations for people running red lights through those for whatever reason. I don't know how those costs got played out. There's kind of a general thing in Hamilton County where they've got that. You just don't have to pay the ticket because they don't enforce those cameras. And so my question really goes here. Are we going to be able to enforce this to require those people to pay those citations, or is there going to be a loophole that they get out of, or that we bow to community pressure and stop doing that, and we're stuck with a 5-year contract? I love the idea.
Right.
I just want to watch the other side of this.
They absolve any fees. Part of the agreement will be that they don't charge us for anything we're not making. So in other words, they will, if for some reason the camera's not producing the money, then they will roll it over to the end of the agreement, and they will absolve any debt owed according to the agreement. And of course, that's where Chuck Cagle comes in to make sure that we actually get what they're telling us. Then the second part is they do turn people over to debt collections. This is an enforceable situation. And so if somebody says, well, I'm just not going to pay it, they do turn them over to debt collections to pay it, because it's the only way they can afford, the way they explain it, it's the only way they can afford to go out on a limb and put this kind of investment into the bus. And then, for instance, let's say we got into this to 3 months. To your point, yes, there is a fee. If we were to get into this 3 months and say, okay, we're not comfortable doing it anymore, then there would be a $2,500 fee per bus to cover the expense of those cameras. So that is part of the contract that would have to be considered, because you need to go the 5 years so that because it takes them time to make the money back. And 2, they will initially make probably a good bit of revenue, but hopefully, as you said, or as you're talking about a few years into this, the revenue will drop dramatically. Let's hope, because that means we're getting safer, right? So if it drops dramatically, that is a concern. In talking to them, they've been in business since 2017. They said they've not had to cancel any contracts yet with the school districts that they have based on that. And that most people understand that this is a little bit different. I'll let the chief address the red lights, but they do understand that this is a little bit different than the red lights because of the situation this is compared to running a red light. But again, I don't want to take.
Board members, are you okay with Chief Gibson approaching Mike, any opposed?
Well, I appreciate you guys having us here. And Hal Taylor's been, since 2015, becoming the chief. He's been in my ear quite often about bus safety and school safety. So it is a conversation that has been pretty regular with him. So to answer your question, the red light cameras, those were not my ideal. Those were before my time. But generally, the models that we've seen with other similar things like school zone cameras that do the same thing is the company will offer you a contract that they think will profit them. So 3 years, 5 years, or whatever. And so that's kind of the model they go with. So the agreement usually is that they're not really expecting to, if they don't recoup the money because you don't have any violations, that's kind of on them. So the models that have, one of the things that has changed with the technology of camera systems like this is the fact that they've changed the business model to changing behavior and trying to change that culture of behavior and not looking at just solely the revenue. And this is probably one of the most productive ways of doing that. And just like with citations that our officers issue on the streets, as far as the enforceable part of it, we have quite often a lot of times that a lot of those citations are not paid or they don't show to court or they don't follow those obligations. So there are some things in place where just depending on the offense where they could lose their license and those types of things. But, you know, as far as this program, I think the enforcement part of it is, you know, if you're changing the behavior, even if they're not paying the fees and there's no risk to the school system, I think that's kind of the balance. Just making sure that there's no risk to in the contract to the school system of owing that money. And if it's about changing behavior, even if you have 40% of the people that are paying the citations, you still probably get 100% that are probably thinking about the safety and the violations and not getting caught. And that's what traffic enforcement is tough with individual officers because they're looking at probability of getting caught. And the probability of getting caught when it's one single officer out there trying to enforce traffic is a lot less than when you have an automated system like this. So I think the risk of deterring this behavior and getting compliance and changing the culture, the behavior of the citizens that are driving every morning around the school buses is probably the biggest benefit.
Chief, if I'm looking at these numbers right, we have 200, almost 300 citations in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of officer time spent reviewing these cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And then you expand it to all the buses, you figure that number may double.
Right, yeah.
What's the logistics on you guys?
Well, the logistics kind of unknown right now, but the dedication is that we'll do whatever we need to do to make it work, and that's kind of what we looked at. And I think when you're looking at this model right here, you're getting the hard numbers, but then you have that education period, you have that warning period, and then you'll have that period where citations are actually issued out. And I think those numbers will become a lot more manageable than this right here. And so we have dedicated ourselves to a live crime center. We've dedicated ourselves to an intel unit that we're looking at public safety cameras, looking at the license plate readers and all this. So this is probably something we would absorb in that unit and hopefully grow and build as we need to. But I think it's something we can definitely manage. And I can't tell you exactly how we'll do it, but we can do it. We're used to working under those conditions, and we'll make it work.
One question.
Yes,
just for clarification's sake, this is a citation that's not different than a human being writing it, right? Or is it different?
Well, I think what would be different on it is that it would be sent to the person, I guess, via mail. And then the other issue is I don't know that this would be what would be a moving violation that would go against their driver's license or be something that their license would be suspended for. So if an officer writes you a citation that's a moving citation for speeding, that citation's issued. It's points on the driver's license. It's a moving violation. If that ticket's not paid, then it could lead to suspension of the license. I don't know that this would have those levels.
Well, can you send a citation to somebody from out of state or lives in another city?
That's what I understand. The company would manage that. Yes.
Okay. One other question is, how is it possible that we could get a grant for this, possibly?
Well, this cost us nothing the way they have it set up. So there
Nothing?
won't be any funds unless we were to cancel, then there would be a cost to it.
Okay.
One thing, if it is, we have 40 school buses, 34 routes. One thing we could do, we've got it on 5 buses, and they're not mandating we do our whole fleet. We could actually do this contract with, say, 5 or 10 buses initially, so that if we find out that we're not happy with it and we wanted to cancel, there wouldn't be a tremendous cost. And if it works and we see it's working, then we could move forward and then look at coming back and moving forward with the program on a larger scale. If that was something that would be more comfortable to look at.
Well, and then the public wouldn't even know which buses had it on, would they?
No, they
So
really
they'd be
don't.
careful.
It blends into the bus, so they really wouldn't have an idea.
I'll agree with that statement because I was trying to find the 5 buses myself. And the only time I found the one bus, it was sitting right next to me, and I was like, that's a camera. And so it blends in very well. So my question, my last question is, with what you just said, is that something you want to make a recommendation for us for, either the full fleet or partial fleet? How are we going to handle that?
Well, I think some concern, I'll leave it to Dr. Elliott.
Yeah, I was going to recommend that we pursue a couple of contracts with different options and then bring back those options to the board for a final vote on that, so that you could have a couple of options to choose from, and we could do one, and then we can review the contracts in the meantime and then be prepared to vote on which one we want at the next meeting.
We would have to, before we sign the contract, we would have to get approval by the city council.
Yeah.
So we'd have to take it to them for whatever.
I'd just like to, keep in mind that, heaven forbid, we use it on partial fleet and then a child gets injured and we don't have a camera on that particular bus. That would be heartbreaking. So I just keep that in mind as we're considering this. Since it doesn't have a direct cost to us unless we're not satisfied, I just think we should keep that in mind.
When those come in, it would be great if Chuck could do a quick once-over to see what our out is. That is the big concern for me is, what is our out?
So I think that would be my recommendation, that then we pursue a couple of options as we've discussed tonight, and then get those contracts reviewed and bring those back to you guys to make a decision on this.
So this is a voting item, so I'd like to entertain a motion to table this to our next meeting. Is there a second? All right. Ms. Wheeler, call the vote.
Andy Lay,
Yes.
Peggy Pesterfield,
Yes.
Jody Riggins,
Yes.
Nate Tucker,
Yes.
Renee Diamond,
Yes.
Matt Coleman,
Yes.
Carolyn Ingram.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is strategic plan focused communication.
Okay, so Brandy King is coming tonight to share an update on communications for this year as we look at strategic plan and then moving ahead. So, Ms. King.
Thank you so much, and I'm glad to communicate to you about communications this evening. So hopefully I can do 2 things, which is speak to you clearly and accurately and click this button at the same time. I think we've established the first slide. You know who I am, Brandy King, and I'm glad to be here in front of you this evening, so thank you for allowing me to be here. I do have just a few slides I wanted to show you just to kind of give you a glimpse into what's happening with our communications. And if you look, the first slide is dedicated to social media growth and engagement. We've had approximately 500 new social media followers since July 2024. I know that may not sound like a lot, but that is a lot. And I pulled a data dashboard from our Meta Suite with Facebook and Instagram. And this was taken, if you look on the lower left-hand corner of the screen, between this pool was from January 30th to February 26th. And you can see the views from Facebook and Instagram as they're approaching during this one particular period, around 369,000 views. And I think what's very interesting is that we're seeing an uptick of non-followers, up 61% during that particular period of views. The interactions are positive as well. We are receiving content interactions from followers as well as non-followers, both being and trending upward, which is exciting. And what drives our content? So consistent content is what drives the metrics, rather. And so I pulled from the same time period our top 3 articles that are, I want to say viewers, but our folks who are on social media are taking a look at. And the first one, surprisingly, was the No Emergency, Just an Incredible Learning Opportunity. And this was intended to be more of a public notice for folks that Life Force One would be landing at Cleveland High School, and not to be alarmed because it was a learning experience. It took off in a very positive direction, and you can see the number of people who saw it. The reach, close to 45,000 people. You can see that they're liking it, 384. People are talking about it, and more impressively, people are sharing it. So over 105 shares on that one particular story alone. And as you can imagine, our second top story, what would it be? It would be a school alert due to a weather event. So that came in second. And for that week as well, we had a feature. Our aviation instructor actually gave me a call and said, we've got something really neat that's happening here, and we have a partnership. I have a grant, and we're taking these Cleveland High School students up in flight, and they're getting some hands-on experience. And people were really receptive to that story and really enjoyed the feature aspect of seeing these students taking flight. And it was exciting to see their experience as well through these pictures. And now I'll click to the next one. This is a sample of some of the television stories that have been covered here in the last few months. Most recently being the expansion milestone that was covered by several local networks, as well as our newspaper. Big exciting news. Life Force again was popular. What's very exciting as well is the fact that we have a healthy relationship with our local news media. That serves us well in certain times. We appreciate that during this time period, I'm showing you some of the events that were covered. And this was September Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. We're at the radio station. We've had feature stories covered by our local news media, as well as opportunities to actually have students go to the TV stations. This being the students from Welding and Raider Evolve going to Channel 12 and Channel 9, promoting their cruising event that was successful that they did a little earlier this year. I'll click. And so that brings us to our internal communications. And we always want to improve our communications, whether it's external or internal. It's a constant. So when we had this February 14th PD Day, and we sent out communication, which was a survey, staff responded positively in the portion of the survey about communications, enjoying this common theme of one weekly email. They do not appreciate lots of emails coming at them all the time, but they do appreciate this one weekly email. And to pull that in the lower left-hand corner, you can see some of the metrics surrounding the open rate of our teachers and staff that are seeing these weekly emails. One of the top being 91% opens. And then you can see the click-through rate, not quite as high, but it's still good. And some more excitement when it comes to communications. We are moving to a standard two-way communication platform for our teachers and staff to communicate with families. It's called Talking Points, and it's been received very well by Arnold and Stewart. They've been piloting this and have really enjoyed some great success with that. I'll click to the next one. Hopefully you've heard building champions and building community, and that's been a part of our vision this school year, and it comes off of the champion notion and the champion idea that we had at Convocation, and we've moved forward with that ethos. So all 9 schools are represented, 1 school per month. Dr. Elliott will go in, he pre-records his spots, and they're overarching. And each month, a school principal comes into the radio station as well, records a 15-second radio ad, and also conducts an interview. And those air on My Mix. And that's where we talk about our champion school and our champion students and our teachers and staff. So we enjoy the fact that we are locally doing well with Mix and Mix TV, and we're seeing that across their social media promotions and our social media promotions as well. And I just love this picture if you see on the lower right-hand side of your screen. This is our Blythe Bauer champion, and he was so excited when Dr. Elliott and Mr. Kaiser presented him with his award. He was surrounded immediately by all of his friends and just truly had a great day, and it was exciting to see that. And then when it comes to community engagement and outreach, we have been throughout the community, a lot of communications, drives, participation in events like the Pediatric Cancer Awareness, things that we had going on in the month of September. And lower left-hand corner, you can see some tiny pictures, but that's from our Empty Stocking Fund when we had students and anyone in the community really, but our students really showed up in droves and with passion, and were prepared to help the community. Also, Parent Academy was recently promoted and did very well as well, and our students appreciated that. Community engagement opportunities as well include support for our families. That means our Family Resource Center, rather. We're preparing to launch that, and we have included a lot of communication to our families about what do they need, how can we fulfill those needs. And they've seen success through that, as well as our mental health and well-being parent classes that have been held. And then probably my favorite, we, through survey, have learned that our audience appreciates videos and shorter videos. And we launched a video earlier this year, Dr. Raper, as well, with Dr. Elliott, prior to Thanksgiving, and it was just a well wish to our families to have a joyful holiday time. So that went over really well with our community and seemed to resonate with the folks that we serve. And that is all that I have, and I wonder if you have any questions for me.
In the year or so that you've been with us, Brandy, what do you find the most challenging part of what you do?
I wish I had a great answer for you, because I wake up and I find that this job is immensely rewarding. The challenge, if I had to say, would be, what do I pick today to choose from? Because there are great things that are happening everywhere at every school. And the challenge is to capture all of those moments and show those to our community and our families and our parents. But otherwise, it's an incredibly fun, rewarding, and exciting opportunity.
I think you're doing a great job, and I appreciate. I remember watching you on TV. It was how many years ago it was, and you always were just so positive and a smile, and you brought that to us, and we thank you for it.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Will
Yes.
we be advertising the Family Resource Center, and when will it be open for parents?
So I've been working with Ms. O'Brien on the Family Resource Center, and she can probably speak a little more closely to those dates and those times. But she has been holding different opportunities for families to come and donate. And from what I understand, those have been successful, Ms. O'Brien? And so we have had an opportunity to communicate the launch, and we've launched the website itself, which has an Amazon wish list attached to it. So people in the community, if they would like to donate, and perhaps they don't have the ability to bring it by, of course, Ms. O'Brien has the means to go and pick them up too, but we have ways for our families to participate.
I know Tuesday is the donation day, but if you want to make a donation or bring something, do you contact Autumn to say, hey, I'd like to come over today at a certain time?
Yeah.
Tuesdays, we're always there from 5, so that's our day that we set
3 to 5?
Yes. However, if someone has a donation, I've gone by and picked them up, or they set up a time to meet privately, and I set it up. I'm just not in that building. I'm the only person that knows from that building all the time, so I don't want them to come by and me not be there. So I set up a time with them.
Okay.
And she drives a box truck. I've witnessed this. It's very impressive. Yes.
And we'll have more news next month as we get closer to the completion of that and the grand opening, so we can give you more information next month.
Absolutely.
So, Brandy, back to communication. Thanks for all you do. It's impactful, and it's obvious that people appreciate it. So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, next on the agenda, we have our student representatives update, and we'll turn it over to Mr. Jackson.
Good evening, everyone. Here's my March 3rd school board update. So February was Black History Month. Mr. Finch did a Black History Moment announcement every morning alongside students in African American history. He was focusing on African American figures throughout our country's history. Then we had a Raiderpalooza. This showcased CHS programs for incoming freshmen. There's Bobby Pritchard right there. It's a great picture of him. We got to kind of display a lot of clubs that CHS offers to these people that are coming up. Last week we had our Culture Day. This featured international food and cultural displays by Spanish and French classes in our gym. We got to go into the gym and kind of explore around this. It's always a great way to eat some good food. Then, of course, Michael DeLone came to speak at our school. He shared a powerful message with CHS students about the dangers of addiction. It was incredibly moving, and he was a fantastic speaker. Life Force One came to visit. It was really cool hearing the helicopter hover above the school. It provided Tango Flight and EMS students with hands-on experience. And then in aviation, we had CTS students took flight, learning pre-flight inspections and stuff like that as well. Now athletics. So our Lady Raider basketball team, of course, was named the district championship. And then Coach Hensley was named the Coach of the Year. Our girls flag football played their first scrimmage at Stone Memorial. And then, of course, wrestling. There's not much more that can be said, but they won it all, of course, as they always do. Some individual accomplishments. For the All-State Theater qualifiers, we had Anaya Purifoy, Madison Lenz, and Chloe Lewis went All-East and All-State, and not pictures Kenan Featheringale, who got All-East. And then Morgan Yates, pictured on the right, earned a spot in the Pride of the Southland Marching Band Color Guard. Our CHS Renaissance Choir has been incredibly busy, placing second at the Southern Showcase. And another competition, they won Best Vocals, Best Overall Effect, Best Choreography, and Best Place Small Choir Division. Our spring play is Bringing Down the House. I don't know the date for this, but we held auditions this past month, and this will be something exciting to go to. And our yearbook. We submitted the yearbook last week. It's been great working on this, and it's finally in. I'd like to also take this as an opportunity to remind you guys about the Gifted Book Program. You can email Dina Davis at clevelandschools.org. It's a great way to help some seniors get a book that many people can't get one themselves. And there's so much more. CHS has held dance clinics, which are very awesome, and ways to communicate for community. And then things like studying for AP exams. We're getting into that season. We're going to prepare more for these. And clubs such as our Science National Honor Society held a science night. Looking towards the future, prom is coming up next month. And then a month after that, of course, is graduation, which is going to get here really quickly. And I'd like to use this moment to thank all of the schools and system that gave such wonderful presents last month. I really enjoyed opening those up when I got home. And I feel very grateful to be included and part of such an amazing school board. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson. We appreciate it. All right, next on the agenda, we have facilities update. Do we have anything to share?
No update.
Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda, we have a legislative update. Is there anything you'd like to share?
Well, the only thing I really want to say is every week we get a TSBA legislative notes, and that comes from either Mr. Coombs or who's the other guy? Anyway. We have two attorneys now on our TSBA board, and what they will do is they will send the bills that will be voted on that particular week. So I just urge us all to make sure we read those and know what's happening. And then if you see the one that you think really needs, that we need to talk to our legislators about, then we need to call them and let them know how we feel. And then the board talk is, that's every week, and that is TSBA just talks about things that would pertain to just the actual boards. And one of the things that I think we've got to do, Mr. Elliott, is the resolution to meet the requirements for the teacher bonus and how we're going to handle that. So that was one of the things that caught my eye this morning. So, and then if you've read the one, the bill concerning the election of the board and county commissioners at the same time, that does not pertain to us because we're the city board. And I don't know why they're just pinpointing the county boards, but we don't have to worry about that one. That's all I have.
Any questions? All right, we don't have anything else on our agenda other than adjourning, so I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn. First and second. Anybody opposed? Great. It is 7:14, and I'll declare this Cleveland City Schools Board of Education meeting adjourned.